What's up, cookies? Welcome back. And if you're new around here, hello, welcome. My name is Carolyn. I hope you get cozy. Typically, I post twice a week on YouTube. I post a vlog on Tuesdays and a fashion focused video on Fridays. Today, it's a little bit of a different perspective of a video that I normally post. And I'm really excited because I promised that I would share this conversation a few weeks ago when I posted my New York Fashion Week vlog. It was very different from what I typically do because I have been given the awarded position to be a principal consultant, instructor, mother to these wonderful children that were a part of a program called Kinspire, which was powered by A Second Chance Inc., as well as Think of Us. Dr. Sharon McDaniel is my boss at this, essentially she's my boss, and the person who created this vision for the program where we connect youth to New York Fashion Weeks or all fashion weeks worldwide, but just to experience and to have exposure about what is possible as far as the types of roles that exist in the industry, fashion, beauty, creative industries alike, and how to take up space and give them the tools, introduce them to the people, have them experience these amazing things. And one of the experiences that we curated for them was this panel day. Now, I will give a couple of disclaimers. So this panel day consisted of two different panels, one that I will be sharing today, which is the Business of Fashion panel. And then there was a second panel called the Art of Fashion panel. Unfortunately, a few things went, so obviously it's my first time doing this type of thing. So not all the things happened the way I thought. Number one, there's a lot of background noise in the video because where we chose to have this was great. The space was great, but you will hear some elevator dinging, some buzzer calls in the background, and just like some shifting around and whatnot. I did not have multiple microphones for this. The other thing, it does end right at we were answering one of the last questions from the kids at that point, and the battery had died. So I apologize for that in advance, that there's any noise issues or discrepancies, that there's some clatter in the background, and that we didn't get to fully experience the full question being answered at the end. But I'll tap in at the end with you guys. I unfortunately do not have the footage for the Art of Fashion conversation, which consisted of an amazing group of talented people that I know, love, and respect their work for. And that actually was moderated by Sixto Cancel, which is the president of Think of Us. So Think of Us and A Second Chance Inc. are both of the organizations that basically fostered and parented the program Kinspire. This is the first cohort, and this is not the last cohort. We are planning to do this again for New York Fashion Week or September, fall of 2026. And then we also plan to take this worldwide where there are other fashion weeks involved. But I just wanted to have you guys listen on this conversation and see the reason why I picked the women that I picked for this particular conversation. There's so many gems that they shared and dropped and experienced, and just I love my friends. They just so dope, honestly. Like when I really was watching this in rerun, just looking at it, I made no edits at all, just trying to like boost the volume of their voices and stuff like that, or zoomed in a little bit more. That was really it. And just to go back to that day and to just look at the video and to see how much they inspired the students and myself and the other adults, and just like, yeah, this is exactly why I knew that you would be the perfect person for this conversation. And this is also a practice for me personally, where I've been wanting to do interviews with industry experts across the board for quite some time. I've had a few opportunities to do it. I've had a few opportunities to do interviews with designers and do backstage type of things, but I want to do more. And I love the fact that when looking back at this video, I was like, yeah, it's brewing, it's happening. So I hope that this also opens up more opportunity to have other conversations. And please let me know if there was a person, or if you guys want to see these people back on my channel individually or as a group again. If you have questions, definitely put the comments below. But go ahead, let's dive in, and I'll see you at the end of the video to wrap up. This conversation is the business of fashion conversation. We're going to talk about strategy, strategists, experts, people that build brand, work with legacy houses and all the things, and have been really dear friends of mine personally, just my personal business out there. We've known each other, ladies, and this is just a conversation I've been waiting to have for a few months now, and I'm excited to introduce y'all to the children and the people. So our first panelist, and I'll be reading my notes because I want to get these things right for my ladies. The first panelist is Nikita St. John, dear friend of mine. She is a powerhouse in merchandising and logistics with a deep understanding of how fashion actually makes it from idea store shelves, and is a VP DMM of merchandising for junior sportswear at DD's Discounts, also known as Ross Stores, a division of Ross Stores. Nikita St. John oversees product assortments that reach consumers on a national scale, okay, big time over here. And she's an expert in executing key merchandising strategy. She is overseeing production timelines and store execution, proving that style doesn't just live on the runway, it lives in the systems and strategy that gets fashion into people's hands. Love that. Hi, Nikita. We went to college together, so this is 19 years. I know. And roomies, we lived together. Next, we have a true storyteller and just visually, like, one of the most stylish people, okay? Listen, Camille Darby. You represent the fashionist thing. She leads marketing at Vogue, okay, guys, and collaborates closely with top editors and creative minds, including the Anna Wintour. She has a front row seat to Miss Anna, and she ensures that campaigns, partnerships, and content align seamlessly with strategic brilliance. A huge heart too, like huge heart, impeccable style, and sharp perspective. Camille shapes narratives that resonates far beyond the page and keeps her finger firmly on the pulse of culture. And you're always looking out for other people and trying to make ways for people. So, thank you. Hi. Next up, we have the Jamillah Davis Hernandez, who is actually one of my mentors, guys. We did meet at Saks, but Jamillah is a luxury retail expert as well, brag board member, and FIT
Business School.
Hello, okay, yeah. Amen. And Business and Fashion Council board member. Nearly 14 years ago, we met, and I had the privilege of meeting her through BRAG, which is also standing for Black Retail Action Group, which is similar to a program like this. They work with high school students and college students. I was able to receive scholarships and internship opportunities through that. And when I came out of college, I met Jamillah at Saks, and she was assigned to me as a mentor. And yeah, we've just been connected since. Each other. Why would we leave? Like, it's just amazing. And since then, she has continued to embody the mission of creating access and opportunity for the next generation while bringing her deep expertise in luxury retail and commitment to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion in fashion. Thank you, Jamillah, for being here. Love that. And finally, that's my girl. Okay, representing both craft and creative entrepreneurship. Okay, we have Miss Chee Smalls, as well as known as fashion and lifestyle content creator. So she has 2 full-time jobs. Please understand this. Okay, Chee shares her unique perspective with audiences also while serving in product development for Coach and Coachtopia. And she oversees the journey of new collections from concept, so from design and actual execution. And at one of the most iconic American legacy houses, fashion houses there, your work is proof that creativity, strategy, and collaboration can coexist, and that you can thrive as a content creator and a leader in this industry. Hello, Chee. Thank you for being here. Now, yeah, so y'all know these ladies are equipped, okay? They got the arsenal. They have the expertise, and I really, I wanted y'all to talk to the kids because y'all just have a very unique perspective of how this business works and your experience through the years, and how you got to where you got to, and really, I want y'all to take us back at the beginning of what really connected you to fashion in the first place, or any area of the creative space in connection to fashion. Like, what was the first thing for you? Camille, you wanna?
Yeah, well, I'm from Jamaica, and my parents are the type of people that are like, don't go outside and embarrass us. So, looking good and your appearance was something that was really important, and they always looked really good when they went out. So my sister and I just sort of adopted an interest in self-care, I guess, how we put things together, when and where and how and why to wear certain things. So I think that was probably my introduction to wanting to make sure that I was groomed and I looked nice and I felt good about myself in that. But as far as moving into fashion specifically, it actually started in theater, and I was in a program similar to this where I was in high school and there was a teaching artist who came to our school and taught us a lot about theater. And thinking that life is linear is certainly not what it is, because I never thought that from theater I would end up in fashion, but it is through that program where I ended up meeting a bunch of different people in different spaces and finding different interests in addition to theater that led me into marketing and fashion. And there's a much longer story there, but I don't want to take up too much time. But my start really came in a very odd and random but perfectly designed way.
Honestly, it's not as random as you think. Because we have students here who are in love with the theater. We actually got to see Hell's Kitchen behind the scenes.
Amazing.
And, they got introduced to all the folks that work with the wigs and the wardrobe and stuff. So it really isn't that random at all, and it connects with their interests. So I love that is actually part of your journey. I knew y'all with the people. Okay, what about you, Chee? What was your first love with fashion?
Yeah, so my grandmother is someone, rest in peace. She's not with us now, but my grandmother, similar to you, taught me that once you leave that house, you have to show up and show out. And I got my love of fashion from her. But even later on, growing up in Harlem in the 80s and the 90s, being a dark-skinned, brown-skinned little girl, you weren't as I don't want to say desired, that's a strong word, but you wasn't seen as beauty, right? The standard there, you wasn't seeing Black women hold that beauty standard. And it really was a toll on my confidence and things like that. And even, as I was growing up and I started to like the boys and things like that, the boys would like more of the fair skin of the group. And I would say fashion really helped me shape who I was, how I wanted to approach the world. It was through my style and my self-expression, right? It was how I wanted to show up and how I wanted people to perceive me. And it really allowed me to shine in spaces where I wanted to hide, right? And I always showed up, right? And I started to feel alive, and I'm like, okay, this is what this looks like. And even at that point, I didn't know I wanted to go into fashion, but I knew it was a part of me. It was a part of my ethos. It was a part of who I was. So as I, went to school and graduated from college, I got an internship doing public relations, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be this big city girl and do events and be fabulous and represent celebrities.
Okay.
Yes, but the boutique agency I was working at, or brand, I had my hand in everything. And I was approving garments, I was approving color, I was looking at production timelines and learning all of those things. And I started to understand, like, oh, this is a business. Because when you go into stores, right, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna pick up this pretty blouse and I'm gonna wear it for the night. But you really don't understand what goes on behind the scenes. It's a full year of preparation. And I was like, okay, so I can bridge my love of fashion and the business, and I can have a career in this, and I knew nothing about it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this thing. And I kind of figured out how to get into fashion from there. So that's kind of like the journey.
We have discussed with the students, showing up as their full selves, expressing themselves, and also it being a statement to who they are. So I love that you touched on that. And we'll also get into the bias of, being a Black woman in the industry in different ways, but it definitely does hit some points there in early age, how that really feels and what that looks like for us. So I appreciate you speaking on that. What about you, Jamillah? First of all, do you remember when we first met? It was the Christian Louboutin heels that were like stilts. And I will never forget you. When I met you, I said, who is this woman? Oh my God, just fly every single day. Every single day. So please tell us, really, I want to know.
I'm a native New Yorker. I'm from Queens. And growing up in Queens, there was something a street called Jamaica Avenue, right? So it's still there. But it was the epicenter of all things like hip hop fashion. Like every rapper in the whole entire world would come to Jamaica, come to the Coliseum, buy their jewelry, buy their sneakers, buy everything. And I grew up a block away from there.
Mm-hmm.
So being around that all the time, going with my brother, I have a big brother, going with him to negotiate. That's how I learned how to haggle. Watching my brother negotiate, I'm buying 3 pairs, give me 20% off it. And that's how I learned my percentages. So being around that, being around that, and just seeing that, and I never dismiss your environment, right?
Yeah.
I grew up in, the 80s. It was peak crack era, right? So meanwhile, I couldn't go to my park because it was not safe. But on the other side, you have this literal fashion hub where everyone in the world is going to. And I'm learning, and I always dismissed it, but now even in my day-to-day, like, that's how I learned my negotiation. Like, I learned it from where I grew up. So never dismiss your surroundings, because it's going to help you later on in life. And I know none of my peers know how to haggle on Jamaica Avenue. I do, right? So that, like, never forget that. And then the other piece was, my brother was in retail, and my brother was a dancer, a creative, a manager. He used to be in the village all the time, and I just used to go and visit him after school. And he would tell me, go home before it gets dark. But in the minute that I had with him, watching him and his friends and being in the epicenter of all things hip hop and fashion, it just kind of like had an effect on me. And that's when I knew, again, didn't know I could really make money off of it. Didn't know, I just thought it was cool. And then I went to college. I'm an HBCU graduate. I went to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. And I studied business, and I thought I was just going to get a good old-fashioned accountant job and be proud, and everyone's going to be like, this is great. And 2 days before my graduation, I told my mom I'm going into the fashion industry. And after she finished howling on the phone, like, now, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm going to make it. And I didn't know exactly what make it was, because I didn't have an example of what that looked like. I didn't know. I knew, again, clothes went into the store. I didn't know who put them there, but I just knew I knew how to put them together. I knew I had an eye for it. I was in the fashion club in college. Things just came really easy to me. And I said, I have to figure out and explore this some more. And that's when I decided to take the leap and take the bet on myself. And I went into the fashion industry.
Yes. It makes so much sense. You were haggling when you were young.
I was haggling.
Oh my God. That makes so much sense. But I mean, obviously, paying attention to your environment and those little details that we would probably just overlook or think it's a normal thing for anybody else, it definitely sticks with you through life. So definitely, awareness. What about you, Nikita?
Well, I am a Baltimorean, so
Hello.
I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and so I wasn't in the epicenter, but my window into fashion was magazines, because we had like paper magazines. So we had Jet magazine, Ebony magazine, Essence magazine, Cosmo Girl, like we had it all. And I feel like I would look into those books and I would be like amazed by how beautiful the women were and the pieces. And I'd be like, and we also grew up in an era of music videos, which, and I would be like, I'm that girl. Like, I like her stuff. So I think, like you guys, I didn't understand what the business piece of it was, but I was always very heavily influenced by things that I saw, and I really wanted to be a part of it. But I also went to college, and I was an economics major, but I was pre-med. So I got howled at too. After school, I decided, I was like, I'm going to go to business school. And as I was looking at business schools, I ran across FIT has a fashion merchandising program that you could do as a transfer student. So I could use all my credits, but I could get a degree in fashion merchandising. So I was like doing that, and I applied to all these business schools. And business school wants you to have, they want you to have experience. So I didn't get into those. And I had a boyfriend at the time who lived in New York. So it just kind of worked. Life is serendipitous that way. So I went to FIT. That's where I met Carolyn. And did some internships, and that's how I realized, like, oh, this is a business. This is something you could be successful with. And as an economics major, even though people don't think of fashion as numbers, it is a ton of analytics. So, like, that gave me kind of an edge on people because I understand numbers, and also I love the creative. So that's my story. So.
It's so crazy.
Go
ahead.
I wanted to just focus on that a little bit too, especially, this is an audience of young kids and you guys are navigating what you want to do and all of these. And what I'm hearing is a common theme is that we didn't really go to school for fashion.
Right.
No.
Right, and I think the beauty of fashion is that the skills are so transferable.
Totally.
Right, things that you learn in school, you can transfer that into fashion. So be curious. Don't have that close you in and closing your exploration of what fashion could be. Like, yeah, you could be a literature, and then you could write copy for e-commerce and the description of garments. Like it's so vast in the range of things that you can do in the fashion industry. You'd be so surprised some of your skills that you actually have right now. Like let's say you love social media and you could be someone on the social media team in fashion and kill it.
Yeah.
Understand the analytics, know the brand, know the customer, and know how to tell a story. It's so vast. So I just wanted to touch on that because what I'm noticing that we all did not, because I know I didn't go to school for it. It's on the job learning for me.
And that's such a valid point too, because I think
No.
let it flow.
Yes,
I think that for a long time in my career, I hid the fact that I was a theater artist, that I was a playwright, because it just didn't make sense. I'm working in the spaces where there's marketing, but really, to your point about it being symbiotic, it's when you're writing for the stage, you're creating an experience and you're telling a story. When you work in marketing, you are telling a story, you are creating an experience, and I just couldn't make the two connect. And I think, to be fair, being Black, I wasn't sure how I would be received if I had other interests. You know what I mean? Especially being one of few. So it was important for me to try to hide that part of myself. When in fact, when I got to Condé Nast, that was the first thing I talked about, was being a theater artist. And I think that was the thing that got me the job, because I had no media experience. I got there and I was like, I don't know what that is. My experience with magazines was flipping pages.
Yeah.
But everything else, to Chee's point, was about learning on the job. But what was able to have me advance in those conversations in the interview process was to be able to say, this is how I tell stories. This is my perspective. This is why I think, trying to engage with these types of audiences are important. How you do it is what you learn, but just having a vision, I think, is so important. And being able to create a vision for yourself comes from having a number of experiences that don't necessarily line up to the thing that you think you want to do, but it is still a part of your story. So I think that was a really, really valid point. Do a lot of stuff. It's at the end of the day. Try a lot of stuff.
Be curious.
Yes, be curious.
And I mean, going into some of the biases and the gatekeeping and the things that we experience in the industry and trying to push through even the moments where it's like, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out because this isn't really my background. I didn't go to school for this. Like, how did you guys break some of those barriers or biases in these spaces as Black women and Black women? It's like, it's a double layer, How did that work?
I think for me, and it piggybacks off of what you guys are saying, understanding that where I came from, because I serve inner city stores, that's where they are, and it's people who need deals, right? So DD's Discounts is like offering, it's an off-price, or it's kind of like TJ Maxx if you haven't heard, if you don't know what an off-pricer is. But where I came from and the people that I was around and how they found fashion was what made me unique in that space, because I know the customer. I understand, like, for example, I'll give you an example, and this is when I unlocked, like, oh, that's my superpower, and I feel like that's how I pushed against the bias, right? Is we were sitting and somebody pulled up this jean and it had like a dragon on it, right? And they were like, this jean is a really good price and we don't understand why it's not working. I said, well, you said the customer has $20 to buy an outfit, right? She comes in the store. I said, if I only have $20, I'm not buying a jean with a dragon on it, because I need to wear that jean more than one time, right? But that was intuitive to me. But that wasn't intuitive to the people sitting in the room. So sometimes it's the very, like, leaning into that, your, things that make you unique or biases or whatever is how I broke through. I think also one other thing is I was an economics major, but I feel like I was always dismissed. Like, understanding them, like as if I don't understand the numbers. And so one way that I always push past that was by being ultra prepared, right? Coming into a discussion with an idea, but also with the information, right? And being able to articulate in that way made people respect me, because when they pushed back, I had reasons why I wanted to do things. And I think that people notice that, that confidence. And so those are kind of two ways that I push back. One is leaning in almost, and one is actually fighting back against the bias.
There is a level of excellence that we always have to have, being women, being Black, and always being ready and witty. And like I said before to you guys, you know, the term "I don't know" doesn't work often. You know, it gets you overlooked. As long as you're saying, "I'm going to figure it out even if I don't know," it really is something that is also a superpower. So I love that, Nikita. Thank you.
What about you, Jamillah?
Well, I use the bias to my advantage, right? I use their ignorance to my advantage because they never saw me coming. You know,
Sniper.
Exactly. They never saw me coming. So if I had an idea or something was coming, like, or just things that I could pitch and present to them, a lot of times it would get greenlit because they just never, their imagination wasn't as vast as I was, right? As mine. So I use that to my advantage, even competitively. A lot of times competition doesn't, I'm in the luxury space, right? So you have to buy the right bag. It has to be the right it bag, or the right, if not, you gotta wait 6 months to get it in. And a lot of times, because it was perceived as tacky or too loud, or that's not our customer, I would know. That was my superpower. I knew from just being in New York, I'm like, that's the bag.
That's it.
And everyone is surrounding, oh, well, this is the one that, you know, this is the one because it's quiet. I'm like, that's not the bag.
Right.
This one is a little bit in between. It's almost like I could see the millions of dollars I would make off of the bag, and everyone, just because the fashion director came in and was like, oh no, this is the bag. Everyone's like, well, this is the bag. And then in the market appointment, a lot of times you'll have different retailers in the room at the same time. You'll have Neiman's, you have Saks, you have Bloomingdale's, and they're all gravitating to the same thing. So what happens is it's like a fashion peer pressure. Oh, she likes that, then I must like that. And then, and meanwhile, I'm off in the corner like, I'm gonna make $1 million off of this thing that no one's looking at. And by the way, since no one's looking at it, I'm gonna take it off the line and make it exclusive. Make it exclusive. And then fast forward, when we're doing the business recaps, they're like, well, Saks is having, like, Saks business is great. Well, why is Saks business so great? Yeah. They want this bag.
Yeah, Jamillah.
I don't remember seeing that bag. Exclusively Saks. So I use their ignorance to my advantage. And also, again, to pick up from what you were saying, leaned into the work, because the work is the work. The preparation is the preparation. If you're in a market appointment and if you're doing something and you're like, oh yeah, last year we only sold 20% of this, and then and if you know those numbers, and the one thing I had to learn is that even after college, you're still studying. You never stop studying, and I know it's painful, but it's like you never stop studying. And I would just prepare like I was preparing for a test. And in life, you're always going to have tests, and you're always going to have to prepare. And that's what I did with my career. I was always prepared. I was always ready. I had them 4.5-inch heels on, and because I knew I was one of one. So I said, well, if I'm going to be the one of one, I'm going to make you remember.
Right.
Not just what I look like, but
what I did.
You took that right out.
Yeah.
Right, because I use that as my superpower too.
Totally.
I'm the only Black woman in the room.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you remember me.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my point of view. I'm going to give value.
Yeah.
Right, and I'm going to lean into the superpower that God gave me.
That's
right?
100%.
And no one else.
100%.
I feel like to your point about college, like my thing is if I'm at a job or it's somewhere in my career and I'm not learning, I gotta go.
Gotta go.
Because time is precious, and at the end of the day, a job ain't nothing but work. And if you are doing work where you are not learning, you got to find somewhere else to go to add value and really use your time in a way that makes sense for you.
Totally.
Or you can just reinvent yourself.
Right.
For me, I've been a coach for 14 years. And for me, I knew like every 3 years, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get stagnant. I know every shipment cancellation, I know every failure, I know all of these, right? So how am I reinventing myself to make sure that I'm a student of the business, right? Because being a student of the business, you're irreplaceable, right? But how do I continue to grow? How do I create a position for myself that I'm continuously growing, that I'm giving back, that I'm opening doors, that I'm, that I am representing what I want in this industry, and going to my boss and saying, listen, and being very honest. I always say, closed mouths do not get fed. This is not working for me. Right? How could you support me in what in my growth and the next opportunity is?
And I think that is what I want you guys to leave with. You really, when you start to understand, maybe not even fully, but partially what you want to do, make sure that you're tapping people who can help you push along, right? So a lot of people look for a mentor in one person, but I always tell people, be open, because you can learn anything from anybody, right? So if you find a person who knows how to, right? You could, it might be 3 different people that get you to where you need to be, because this person tells you about the office politics, and this person tells you how you need to navigate to get to this next job, right? So I think if you don't leave, because it just made me think about that, right? Asking for what you want, knowing who to ask is just as important as knowing what you want to do. And I think that's something I want you guys to leave with, because early in my career, I wasn't timid, but I learned quick, like the people who ask and know and start tapping people and doing the work behind the scenes and getting those, getting those coffee dates and pushing that along were the people who were moving faster. So I'm a quick study, but I'll give you guys the shortcut.
But to that end about the coffee dates too, I think it's important to be prepared for those too.
Yes.
If you're asking for people's time and whatever picking up the brain you want to do, come with 2 questions. You don't have to have 25 questions. It doesn't have you don't have to be all like super buttoned up, because it could be intimidating. I hated networking. I hated talking to people. I'm an extrovert in one way, but very much an introvert, especially in public places. So I had to teach myself to introduce myself and have a question to ask or have a thing to be curious about, so that when you do go on that coffee date, you're getting something out of it and not expecting that person to lead the conversation, because they don't have to be there. But if you want something out of them, I do think it's important to have like something to kick off that conversation, and that person will continue to guide it for you, and then continuing to follow up and staying in touch. I also think that sometimes you meet people who are intended to be your mentors, and you meet them and you're like, am I really getting anything out of this? And that's fine too. And there's no harm done, but you can move on to whoever you think the next person might be. But the importance of building those relationships, at least in my experience, has been immeasurable, because I've applied for a lot of jobs. I've never gotten any of them. Every job I've had in my career is because of a relationship, that someone called me and said, hey, Camille, I know, even my job now, someone was like, there's an opening at Allure, and that's where I initially started, to do this thing. You should apply for it. I'm like, no experience, I haven't worked in beauty at all. And I applied for it and I got it, but it was because she called me and thought of me. And I think that's the importance of building those relationships, because people will think of you as long as you stay in touch and have something that just keeps you connected.
See, I think passion is based on relationships.
100%.
Passion is based on relationships. So it's once you lean into your excellence.
It's all industry.
For sure. It's not what you know. It's actually who you know.
And who knows you.
Who knows you?
We definitely have.
But you have to do the work though.
Totally.
You have to do the work. You have to lean into your excellence, because you want people to talk about you when you're not around.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Exactly.
In a good way.
Because we did talk about the 3. We talked about 3 kinds of mentors. So we have a mentor, life, personal, all the things, whatever. You have an advisor, and then you have a sponsor. And we talked about that recently. We also talked about they have like an assignment too, when they can't leave New York without meeting or networking with someone that they can connect with and learn from. And a few of them already got it done, so it's like, but learning how to introduce yourself and having those tough conversations or scary conversations when you're like, what do I say to them, but people are more than open to learning, the youth and wanting to teach y'all and wanting to connect with y'all. Y'all never know, but you just have to put yourselves out there, but also be prepared. So I'm not crazy when I'm talking in class, y'all.
I think the other one thing, and then I'm sorry, 'cause I know we're getting, is also network across.
Yes.
Don't only try to network up, right?
Yep.
There are people that I went to school with, right, who are now the global head of marketing at Levi, and this, like, so people who have interest usually end up there. So make sure you're networking and staying in touch with your classmates and people who like to do things that you like to do, because those relationships actually become super important. So I'll just say that with the networking.
I mean, even
panel.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Right,
This panel.
my first, when I decided I wanted to do retail, and I started off in a small wholesale company, and I did streetwear. And then the reason why I got that job is because it was my brother's best friend's company, and they needed a front desk girl. And I had just graduated from college, so I'm like, oh, great, I'm gonna get this job. And then as my career moved on, I ended up in store line, and I was at Macy's. I was at Macy's at 34th Street. I worked in the basement. I always say I went from the basement to the boardroom. And how I got there was my coworker. She was a black woman. I was a black woman. We were in Macy's struggling. Like, okay, like how much money do you have for lunch? I don't know. Like, we were struggling. And she moved over to Saks, and she got the job at Saks. And sure enough, she said, you got to come over here. I told them about you. No, it wasn't Star. It wasn't Star. It was another woman. Another woman. And she said, you got to come. I told HR about you. And I'm like, oh my, I'm a native New Yorker. I had never walked into that store. There was no reason for me to walk into that store. But because of the relationship that I made with someone that looked like me, and we were in peers together, and we were like, hey, like, let's join forces so we can get through this together. And that's how I got into the company that I've been with for the last 25 years. So value those relationships. I know it's easy to be like, I'm just going to focus and just stick to myself, but everyone needs, someone to vent with. Everyone needs a peer like that is going through the same thing that you are, and so that you can go up the ladder together in the struggle.
I have 2 more questions for y'all, right? All this hustling and bustling and networking and climbing the ladder and whatnot. What is something that keeps y'all grounded? And anytime you might get knocked, how do you keep your resilience in place? Because it's going to happen from time to time,
For me, I lean into my why.
Yeah.
Why I'm
Your
here.
why.
Right? Why am I doing the things? Why am I making the product? Why am I showing up online? Who I'm talking to? What's the story? Right? I have to focus in that, because I think fashion is relentless. It is a lot of losing before you get to a lot of wins. And I think you need to be focused in, okay, what's the passion? What is God talking to in my heart? And I'm sorry if you guys aren't as religious, but I am, and it's a big reason why I'm here. And I lean on that, right? So when we talk about resilience, I have to get back to what God puts in my heart, what's my why, and then also give yourself grace, right? And all those things. But I think that's what keeps me grounded. Yeah. And for you guys, right? Like this, right? Right. This is a major part of why I am in fashion. To open doors, to be a representation for you to see like it's possible.
Yes.
So yes, that's what keeps me going.
I think to have resilience is when all the work, right? Resilience is really when preparation meets purpose, right? You're resilient because this is why I'm here. Like, so you can't get off your path when it's your purpose. All the work that you've done, this is what I'm here to do. So you're not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore, because it is your purpose. And I'm a spiritual person as well. And it's like, I don't know anything else. Right. Like, it is my job my unofficial side job, my real side hustle is to make sure that for every girl growing up in a 1-bedroom apartment in Jamaica, Queens, knows that you can travel the world and go to Paris and Milan and sit at business tables. Like, that's my job. Yeah. Like, on paper, on LinkedIn, it's the other thing. Right. But that's my job. So it's like, I don't know anything else. Carolyn called me, I'm like, duh. Like, tell me when I need to be there. Like, I don't know anything else, because I wish I saw someone that looked like me, a panel like this, when I was young and you know, sleeping in my living room, like, what the hell am I gonna do with my life? I wish I saw that. And that's why I don't know anything else. Like, and that's where the resilience comes from, because, and also I think my HBCU education, I'm a big fan of HBCUs, because the minute you walk through those doors, they're like, you're not here just for you.
Right.
There's so many other people that came here before you. Like, you owe it to everyone
You're
before you
representing.
and after you to do what you need to do. So I think that's where the resilience comes from. I think that's where the tenacity comes from. I think the vibe of all these women that you see are like we are with it, but it's something internal. It's something that we were gifted with, and everyone has that gift. And I think growing up, I think when things were easy for me, I didn't look at it as a gift.
Yes.
There's a perception when you grow up a certain way, you're like, it has to be hard, right? It has to be hard for me, because we're never told on a regular basis that we're the smartest or the brightest. So when something comes easy to you and you could do it like this, you're like, well, that's just a fluke. It's not, I'm here to tell you it's not a fluke.
Right.
It's a gift, it's
What
a
you're
talent.
supposed to be doing.
It's what you're supposed to be doing. And it doesn't have to be hard all the time. It could be easy. And that's how you know that you're on the right path.
I think for me, I always try to take a minute. That's what helps me stay resilient. A minute to think about why I'm doing it. A minute to think about what decision I'm about to make. If I feel good with it. Is it in alignment with me? I think sometimes we move really fast and we do quick things and then we think about it later. I think what's helped me through my career and just in life in general is like just taking a minute to really understand. And sometimes you don't have a long time to think about it, but just 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right, to think through a decision that you're going to make. I think another thing that's helped me is reflection and gratitude, right? I'm grateful to be here. These are things, sometimes when something's hard, I'm like, this is the life I prayed for.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard, but like this is like what I wanted. You know what I mean? I'm living, I'm doing. I remember I would look through those magazines and I'd be like, oh, when I get older, I just want to look like refined. You know, like I want to get like this stuff, you know, like whatever. And sometimes I'm like, dang, I really did that. Like that Baltimore girl really did that. So I think gratitude and just thinking through, you know, when I say reflection, what went well about that thing? What didn't go well? What did I wish I said that I didn't? What did I say that I shouldn't have? Right? Just like thinking through so that the next time you get an opportunity or that thing comes around, you've learned from the situation, because everything is a learning, right? And nothing is a failure, and everything happens for a reason. And so I think keeping that things in mind really helps me to be resilient.
I think everyone has said it. Right? Honestly, the only thing I would add is to that point, it's what is this here to teach me? But I mean, that requires a little bit of like evolution.
Yes.
Like, you know, you guys are still very young, and be young and enjoy that and take every moment as it comes.
Yeah.
But I think I had to grow to a place where I could ask myself, well, why is this happening?
Yes.
But I also allow myself to feel the feelings.
Yes.
I think the minute you try to like suppress or behave as though the thing isn't happening, or that you're not upset, or you're not hurt, or you don't feel the thing, that's when it becomes a little bit more challenging. So I allow myself to be whatever I need to be, and then once I get over that piece, I'm like, okay, well, why is this here? Because to your point, Jamillah, it's like your path is your path, and nothing's going to get you off of that. So clearly there's something in that moment that's there to teach you something, whatever that may be. And sometimes things happen, and you learn and you grow and you move forward.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question, and this doesn't have to relate to fashion specifically or any industry, but what is one thing that you wish someone would have told you early on that would have helped you through any issues or, you know, setbacks and stuff? Like, what was that one nugget that just carries
Wish
it?
they said?
No, that you wish you would have heard when you were younger.
Okay.
I wish someone would have told me that good grades beats a good outfit any day.
Good what?
Good grades.
Good grades.
Good grades beats a good outfit any day.
Okay.
Because the room,
You're a real fashion girl.
good grades.
Yeah.
Because I didn't understand that the doors would open with a GPA. Like I thought you had to have the fit, the hair, the nails, the everything, the shoes. But meanwhile, the people that are calling the shots, maybe they have a new shirt on, maybe they have a new pair of shoes on. When I worked at Macy's, I'll never forget, I went to the buying office, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in the buying office. And the SVP, GMM, head of everything, had holes in his shoes. He had holes in his shoes. I was like, oh my God, this man has holes. But guess what? He don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because he wasn't there. He was there to
you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He was there to. That's what he was driving strategy, and that's when it finally went off. I'm like, oh my God, all that time, all that time I wasted. I should have been like in the. Yes, I was in the books because I graduated. It was fine, but I wish I would have like locked in. If I was locked in, I could have shaved at least a good 5 years off of the time in my career and gotten there faster. 5 years faster. If I was like focused, laser focus on my grades. That is the doorway. That's why they're trying to take it away from us right now. Because they figured out, like, wait a second, once they go to school, this is what they become, and we can't have that. So that the grades, so now we're getting into school. Okay, school's expensive. Scholarships come in what? High GPAs. That's how you're going to fund your college career. That's how you're going to get through grad school. And that GPA will be, a new drop, new collab outfit any day.
Right.
Couple things. No, one is I would get into as many internships as you possibly can because one, you'll have the experience on your resume when you go, so you'll edge out some people, right? But two, it really, when you get in there and you start to do the work, you start to learn, what do I like? What don't I like? Who's somebody that I admire? What are they doing? Is that something, a path I want to take? So I think it allows you like some real insight to what you want to do. And
sometimes that's for free, y'all.
Yes. Sometimes. I mean, there's a lot. Now they've got
Brad Google paid internship.
Yeah.
We are doing interviews now for next year. I had to do a plug.
Love that. Ross has Brad internship.
Yeah.
So, the other thing is kill your ego.
That's a good one.
I will share a story. I always share this story. So when I was wanting to make the jump from being a buyer to a DMM, I was doing the work, and there were like things that, like small things, like for example, I would come in late, but I'd stay late in work, right? So I got everything done, but I'd be a little late, right? So I go in to have this conversation, a career conversation, and my boss is like, but you're late every day. You want to be a leader, but you're late. And I was saying to myself, I said, I'm late, but my sales are great. Like the business is crazy. I stay late or whatever. And so one day I called my dad, and my dad's like, well, she told you what to do, right? Yeah. Like, you want to keep your ego and talk about how you're doing it at night because perception is reality. Yeah. That's the person that's holding you back, and that's what she perceives, right? That even though you're getting the work done. So every day that next year, because I made my mind up, I was there early. I was like prepared for everything. We lived together.
She was really.
I was not playing. Tell me I'm late because I'm not. I'm already here. Hey, good morning. I'm welcoming you into the office. So I would say kill your ego, because your ego will hold you back from a lot of stuff. It'll tell you things, and it will deceive you, kind of. Your ego has a way of like holding you from things that are meant for you sometimes. So you really have to check it. It's hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, but ask yourself, am I not getting it because I can't get it, or because I'm holding myself back sometimes? What can I do? So just that personal accountability. I wish somebody would have told me that earlier. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I agree. One thing for me, though, is that your POV, your point of view is valuable.
Yes.
Right? You have to be courageous. You have to work and push through fear. For me, and a turning point in my career is I had a seat at the table, and the same meeting, it would happen every week. It was a staff meeting, and I would just hide in the corner, and I would just observe until it was like, no, what they're saying is not right. And I was courageous enough to say, I think we need a red in that bag. And everyone looked around. This is a true story. Everybody looked around, and the creative director of Coach now was like, what, repeat yourself. I was like, I think you need this bag in red. This red is a great accent color. And then I just gave all the reasons why and some data behind it. And you guys had a red tabby when it came out. It's being courageous, and it's knowing that you have value, right? You're there for a reason. You got the job for a reason, right? Don't take that for granted. Don't ever take that for granted, and kind of use that as your fuel to kind of show up in a meaningful way. Don't hide. Right now, when I go into a meeting, I sit at the table. I actually sit at the head of the table. Which is a big, bold move, but I've learned that from a manager. Right? So that's just what I wish someone would tell me. And your POV is valuable, so go with that.
It's literally the same thing. It's just like, give yourself allowance or permission to find your voice and use that whenever you need to use it. That took a long time for me, but I wish someone had encouraged me to speak up. And ask questions. Be thoughtful about your questions, but definitely don't walk out of a room confused. Ask those questions, and if you can't find those answers, then seek those answers out. But definitely give yourself the permission to find your voice.
And take up space.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate y'all so much. This was so good. Do y'all have any questions at all? I know Chanel be shy.
I know you have a question. You're so engaged. I love it.
Everybody was there.
I'm going last. So
Now I'm going last. Who has a question? Who, Sarah? You have one? Oh, okay. I didn't know.
She's like,
The black and white.
Samar, you have a question?
I would probably say, my biggest question that I want to know is, what do you feel like was the main push? Even though, there's the good things, but there's always some bad things that come with good things. What was the bad things that kind of made you still see the good on the other hand?
That's deep, babe. I love that.
I didn't want to hold back.
Ooh, good. Take a question.
That's a good question. I've had a manager tell me I make too much money, and I don't have kids, and why do I need all this money? And then I've had that, and
That's crazy.
that's
Crazy. What did you say?
And in that moment, it made me think, why is she telling me this? And then I realized, I said, oh, I'm on to something.
Yeah.
I'm on to something. There's something that I'm doing. I'm on to something. You haven't given me the greatest feedback, but the fact that you're telling me, oh, you make too much money and you don't need to make, she was trying to push me out of the space. And a lot of times we allow people to push us out of the space that we're supposed to be in. And I saw the good, because I said, okay, you're trying to push me out the space, but that means I'm getting closer. And the closer you get, the more people are going to try to push you off of your path. So whenever you get those times, I'm a glass half full kind of person. So whenever you hit that, that stumble, or that you're like, wait, why is this happening? You're getting closer. You're getting closer. You could when it gets really, really rocky, that's when you're really on to something. Some of the hardest times I did was right before I got promoted to a VP. I was like, this is never gonna happen. But I was telling myself that, and I was like, you know what? I gotta take whatever that negativity is and look at it glass half full. I make too much money. Okay, so I'm gonna ask for more money. I'm gonna ask for more money. Right? You don't think I'm doing a great job? Like you said, come in early. Listen to exactly. Okay.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
It's like, not only am I going to come in early, I'm going to beat you there. Right? I'm going to beat you there. And then that's when you realize, oh, wait, my boss's boss comes in at the same time that I do. and now we have a rapport.
Yeah.
And now I have someone who's in the room. Oh yeah, I love it. She comes early on time. We have coffee today. A relationship you didn't even think that could possibly happen because it seems so far away and so in distance. It brewed from something of a negative comment.
Yeah.
So like run towards it. Run towards the bad because it's going to help you get to the good.
Every time I've been laid off for a job, something better has come. And layoffs are obviously hard because you can't control them. No matter how well you perform, sometimes it's related to that and they just push you out because of that, or sometimes it's based on company performance. So things you can't control. But I think I've been laid off twice in my career, and every time on the 2 times it's happened, I have gotten to places that were far greater than I anticipated. Even this current job I have now was laid off in the pandemic. I was working at Intermix, which was at the time a boutique, and I did marketing and brand campaigns and all of that. But once stores were closing, my job was done because we were doing events as well. So like, what is my job? And I spent that summer just trying to figure out, what do I want to do? What is my story? How am I not going to hide about my theater background and my writing background? And I got this call from a friend, and I prepared for that, and shit just took off. Like a better term. So that bad experience turned into, and I met so many incredible people as a result of that very bad thing. So also a glass half full. Every time something like that happens, I'm like, okay, good, what's next?
Yeah.
It's scary, but what's next?
And I think sometimes when things, maybe even right now, right, things might not happen always the way that you feel that it should, or you feel like, oh, why am I in this situation? A lot of times that births like a strength and an understanding and a knowing of things that other people maybe your age don't know. Or, so when you get into certain positions, those things can really be helpful, even though they could feel like right now I don't understand this. I don't understand why certain things are happening to me, but I feel like all things are ordered. So you go through these things and they make you know that the drag, it shouldn't be on the jeans, like certain things. So somebody could look at the situation and say, oh, you grew up without money, but I grew up with an understanding that helps me now. Does that make sense? So I think it's all in the way you look at it, which is what we're trying to say. And it can be tough sometimes. So I don't want to sit up here and make it like, all negative things feel good, because it doesn't necessarily feel good in the time, but you usually get something from it.
I think for me, I'm still kind of struggling. My boss had called me aggressive. And it hurt me to my core, especially as a Black woman being called aggressive, because I'm holding people accountable.
Right. Speaking with an assertiveness.
Right. People don't want to be held accountable.
Period.
Right. But as a leader, and the type of leader that I am, I'm going to show up. My team is going to show up, and we're going to come 100%. But if you, in this collaboration, if you're not coming 50 or 100%, even 100%, I'm calling you out, and I'm going to make you accountable for it. But it actually really, really hurt my feelings when I was called aggressive. So and to be very honest, I still don't know how to deal with it. I'm still working through that. Because that is a very loaded, negative comment.
Coded language.
And that's just also, too, just to go to show you, we have all these accomplishments, and there's still things we don't know, right? So
Still learning.
you're still learning. Yeah, exactly. You're still learning, but knowing that there are other people going through things, or can be helpful.
But I'm going to stay true to myself.
Totally.
So regardless.
Totally.
Right. I'm still going to show up as I need to. I'm still going to put in the work. I'm still going to put my head down and do the work, regardless how you're perceiving me, right? Or that situation. And it's unfortunate, right? Because for me, I always like to reflect too. Because you still, just because you feel like you wasn't aggressive, you're like, what? Well, was I aggressive? Right? You have to self-reflect. You have to. It's so important. It's so important. But yeah, I think the negative comments it's just gonna go. And you just have to, that's why you have community. It's why you have a network, right? To talk through, to talk through things, and for people to kind of help you lean into your community.
This was so beautiful.
I have one more question.
I have a question.
Okay. I'll wait. She want to go last.
So I come from a background with like high trauma. Some stuff has happened, right? And there are times I realize, ooh, that's showing up from a real deep place. And so I just was curious for y'all. You've had such success. Like, where has the past or that unhealed part show up in your leadership or work? And then, like, how did you?
Chee,
I might have just said it. I might have just said it. You know, I might have, right? Because the trauma, right? The trauma is like holding people accountable, creating boundaries in the workspace, right? Because that comes from past trauma too. So, but again, I honestly don't know. You know, I think it's one of those things that's hard, but I think, you know, leaning into community and addressing it.
I think you have an awareness too around your trauma, which is important because healing is a journey. You don't just become healed and then you're done, because even if you have an awareness about the things that happened to you, you definitely did not forget them. You just kind of know how to deal with it if things come up. And I think for me, confidence was a big thing. As she talked about being dark skinned, that was a huge like just blow to how I saw myself. And it took several years for me through that and be confident in a room, not just as a Black person, but as a dark-skinned Black person. And so, and as a woman, and I think the confidence piece is when I come to blows with someone in the office who is white, is female, not even men, I could deal with that, but white women sometimes can really trigger that part of me that feels like I don't have a right to speak. I don't have a right to say something. And I immediately thank God through like therapy and like just like being older and like evolving, recognize that that's a trigger of, oh, I'm feeling like I'm getting small. No, this is an opportunity to actually sit up, put your shoulders back, and address the thing professionally. So those things happen for me. That happened last week. You know, it's one lady who just really loves to cut you off and talk down to you and do all those things. And I remember saying to myself, I don't feel respected as a leader in this place. I could go do this and be like, oh, I'm the dark skin, like curl that got, you know, or I could be like, look, you know, like I'm triggered by that often. I'm triggered by this person. I am aware of it, and I try to figure out how to deal with it.
That's great advice.
I think for me, the trauma of growing up as a middle child, single parent household, the trauma for me was never allowing myself to rest, right? And how did this trauma show up in the workplace? My grandmother passed away. What did I do? I took 3 days off and I went back to work. And then I went into a meeting where I was proceeded to be gaslit. And I lost. What did the kids say? Crashed out? I crashed out to the point where, and I've worked at my company for 25 years, to the point where they were like, someone was like, Jamillah, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. This is not gonna work. This strategy is not gonna work. And they're like, this is not like you. Because again, this is what happens when you show up to work as your authentic self all the time. Yes, people, like, maybe I spend time with them outside of work, maybe I don't, but they're like, this is not, we have disagreements all the time, but this is something different. And it took me a whole year to figure out why I had that moment. And I realized I did not give myself enough time to grieve the death of my grandmother. And that's where the trauma showed up at work. As when you don't give yourself time, you're not allowed to. There's too many things to do. You're a Black woman, you're a middle child, you're a mother, we were raised not to rest. And you have to give yourself rest. And yes, thank God for therapy, thank God for, I love some acupuncture, I'm telling you, do it. And then that's when I realized, I said, oh, okay, 3 days wasn't enough to mourn the loss of someone who literally lifts you up every day of your whole entire life. And she would have 3 days, like.
When you think about it.
Yeah, when I look at it, she would be like, girl, why are you even at work? Like, you know, like, what are you doing? When my cat died, she was like, are you going to work? And, you know, and meanwhile, I was like, no, I'm going to work, Grandma. But I'm like, 3 days, it's not enough. And we have to, and those are the moments, I like what you said in terms of sitting and reflecting, because that's when you realize, like, wait a second. It wasn't this person that I was angry at and crashing out on. It was because I didn't take time to mourn the loss of the most important person in my life.
Totally. I think, yeah. I definitely think things do show up. And you have to, it sounds like everybody's done some work, right? To be able to recognize it and then be able to figure out how to proceed forward, which sometimes it's not gonna come out right, you know? But I think having the awareness around it, just to answer you, how do you deal with it? Having the awareness around it. For me, therapy was like something that was not, I didn't grow up with people doing that, and that's been something that's been immensely helpful for me, just to kind of clarify my thoughts. What am I thinking? Why am I thinking that? Who told me that? Is that thing that they told me true?
Yeah.
You know, what makes that real? I think doing that work is really helpful to kind of tamp back. It doesn't eliminate it, but it helps tamp it back a little bit. For me personally, that's how I've, helped that.
Carolyn, I was going to say, I'm going to send you my dissertation. My dissertation was on Black women who ascended to leadership to the apex of the organization and how you dealt with your self-efficacy and your vulnerabilities. Because Chee, as you were speaking, I'm thinking about the women I interviewed and talk about that notion of aggressive. What does that mean? It really is really not you. It's the environment that cannot handle truth. And so I'm going to send you my dissertation because I want you all to read it. Any woman that ascends to leadership, I want them to read, if you read nothing else, chapter 4.
I'm ready.
And one last question, Chanel, what was your question?
I kind of, all transparency, I don't even know how to ask this question because I would be assuming or insinuating, but it's a two-part question. Do you guys consider yourselves like first generation in your positions?
Definitely,
Yes.
I am.
Yes.
Like, where does your support come from? And like, who did y'all look up to growing up? Or not even just growing up, just throughout your journeys, like getting to where you're at right now. Like, who was your main line of support, and how, even now, what does that do for you now?
I
question.
love
That's
She's
a great
first generation,
this
that's why.
question
That's a great
because
question.
I am first generation, and my parents, I didn't have a dad in the house. My mom was considered like a secretary, right? That was the term instead of an executive assistant now that we use now. She was a secretary. She wasn't a businesswoman. She didn't know how to navigate through corporate America. My sister, was my older sister, didn't know. So it was very, very lonely. And then I'm in fashion where I'm the only Black woman, right? So it's like, I'm so confused. Like, how do I do this? I had an ally, my boss, who was a white woman, who took a liking in me, saw potential in me, and we created a relationship, right? Because that's, again, we say that word relationships, right? And that's a common theme in this conversation. And I leaned on that ally to help me navigate through, right? And it wasn't the most ideal because there were certain conversations that she didn't understand, like why I felt a certain way, why I was lonely, why, right? But she saw the value, right? And I say, and I want to bring up this because sometimes allyship is not the same skill, right? And when we talk about being open-minded, be open to that allyship. And the people that see things in you, right? Don't close that door. But it's, when I tell you, it was completely hard to know how to create a resume, how to apply, you know, and I think you guys have such an advantage because you have access to a lot, right? You got the chat GPT, and how do you answer this question in the interview, right? But during my time, like, I didn't have any of that, and I had to kind of figure it out, right? And it's a very scary space to be in and to live in and to kind of help navigate your career. You have all these dreams and these goals, and you're so enthusiastic. You just graduated from college, and it's like, wait a minute, what do I wear to a business school, right? Like, or, you know, so.
Thank you.
It's hard, and it's okay,
Thank you.
right? Again, like what Camille said, it's you should feel those feelings and allow yourself to feel those feelings, but then don't stay there, right? You climb out of it and you kind of figure it out. So that's what, to your question, I had to kind of figure it out, but it's
it's a lonely space, especially when you are first generation.
And an advantage of people who see something in me is important too, because even the program that I was in high school, there was a teacher, she was white, I'm still friends with her by the way, and I think I was gonna start the track team, and she was like, that's cool, don't do that. There's a really cool theater program that we're starting that I think you should be a part of because you do well in my English class. So I think you should join this program. And this is what's gonna happen after school for how long? It was the entire school year. Every month, they took this cohort, myself included.
Didn't I say my friends were so dope? I'm just saying, I mean, like, oh, I'm sad that the conversation got cut off because the battery died that day. Definitely will be packing more batteries, more cameras, more microphones the next time I'm awarded an opportunity to create a panel like that again. But I mean, looking at my friends on this conversation, on this video, you know, Nikita, from FIT to roommates, knowing what we've been through in life, what we've suffered through, what we succeeded through. I mean, when she said she was waking up early to get to her job and to really like prove a point, she wasn't joking. I was living with her during that time. She made the adjustment and she worked hard. She bust her tail, you know, and I knew that when I thought about the people that I wanted to make an impression on these students when it comes to what it takes in the real world to succeed and to take up space and to make yourself known and to be a force, I thought immediately Nikita. And then I was like, Jamillah, because who's made a big impact on me? Her and Nadia Bradshaw. There's so many women that I met, especially in my college life or right after college graduation, that have made an impression on me where I'm just like, what would Jamillah do? What would Nadia do? And immediately thought of getting Jamillah on board. I also felt that my conversations with Chee throughout the few years, you know, we've been developing our amazing friendship and trust and bond, and how I've learned so much about her and her experience, even her personal life. Just, I knew that the conversation that I wanted to have in front of these kids, she would be able to add nuance and depth and just another layer of creativity, but also like honest, real life going through certain things right now, and how important it is to hear that, because we see nothing but highlights from a lot of people on social media and just overall, like we see the success, but we don't see the gripes or the different things that they are processing in that moment while they're still succeeding, or they may have hit a bump or they heard something that didn't really feel good for them, but they're still working through it. Like I knew she was going to share something that would feel real. And then Camille's interest and connection to theater was one of the reasons why I was just like, she's a screenwriter. Like I know she's going to hit it out the park with these kids because I know what their interests were, what we learned throughout the summer while I was teaching them every Saturday, and the things that we talked about. These kids love writing, they love reading, they love theater, you know, so I knew that she was going to tap into something that they really resonated with, right? And just her grace and her experience now, how she's gotten into the space of Vogue, you know, and how she's navigating that and becoming a mom. And she's like, cool mom. Okay, Nikita and Camille are cool new moms. They're like, oh no, I'm going to have me throughout all this. And I'm going to get to know this version of me right now throughout all this and raise this daughter. And they're doing it. And I just felt like this combination, this conversation was so necessary. And I took away so much from it. You know, I know these are my friends, these are my peers, and I have my own personal successes as well. But I love being inspired by my peers. I really do. And I don't take that for granted. And I hope that you guys enjoy this conversation. Again, I'm so upset I don't have the footage from the Art of Fashion panel because that team, that group, I also handpicked and was just like, oh yeah, you're going to do great with this student. They're aligned with you here. You're cool as hell. And also I know that these kids need to be like visually stimulated as well. And all these guests that we had for the panels just hit the nail on the head and really gave some concrete information to utilize in their life right now going forward. And I thought that that was just immeasurable. I wanted the panel to be an experience where they left empowered and feeling like a force to be reckoned with. And I think we did just that. So obviously next time, a lot of lessons learned, but I'm very grateful that we were able to see this much of the experience. And I want to hear y'all thoughts. Like, who do y'all want to hear from? Who should we circle the block with? Should we have a whole group on again? Like, what is it? Tell me the thoughts, all the things in the comments, and I will share with them as well. And I will also put everyone's information as far as like their business pages or Instagrams and stuff like that, so you can do a bit of research on your own, follow their journey from here on forward if you don't already, and just so you know who they are, all in the description box below. And I appreciate y'all time today watching this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay true, stay you, and stay safe, cookies. Bye.